Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to host Her Excellency Justice Professor Phoebe Nyawade Okowa, Judge, International Court of Justice. Her Excellency Justice Professor Okowa is a lawyer and Professor of Public International Law and Director of Graduate Studies at Queen Mary University of London. She has served as a judge of the International Court of Justice since November 2025. An advocate of the High Court of Kenya, Justice Professor Okowa has acted as counsel and consultant to governments and non-governmental organizations on questions of international law before domestic and international courts, including the International Court of Justice. In 2016, she was appointed by Kenya to be a member of the Permanent Court of Arbitration at The Hague from 2017 to 2022. In 2021, she was elected as a member of the International Law Commission from 2023 to 2027. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Her Excellency Justice Professor Phoebe Nyawade Okowa to join the podium.
Is there anything I need to do? It's always such a hard act to follow Judge Yusuf, especially after such an erudite speech. But that seems to be my destiny these days, since I'm always just one step behind him. It was, however, very nice to see the privileges that come with being a judge emeritus, because I don't think I can speak with the same freedom that he was able to speak to. So there is always something else to look forward to at a future date. The Chancellor of Kabarak University, His Excellency Gideon Moi, the Vice Chancellor, Dr. Kiplagat, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Korir Singoe, Mama Sarah Godana, and the entire Godana family. It's really wonderful to see all of you here at this inaugural lecture in honor of Dr. Godana Bonaya, and to celebrate his remarkable achievements, his immense contribution to academia and to public service. I went to the University of Nairobi to commence my undergraduate studies in 1984, and it was an incredibly happy and optimistic time. That was the year that Dr. Godana had also just returned from his graduate studies in Geneva. I was 19 and in a class of about 150 students. It's easy to forget that at that time, the Faculty of Law had only been in existence for 14 years, and it was the only law school in Kenya. Until 1970, law had been taught at the University of Dar es Salaam. The interaction between students and academics were frequent and close. The entire faculty was in the Gandhi wing in the main campus, and Dr. Godana's office was near the staircase on the 3rd floor. International law was a popular optional subject taken by quite a few of us in the 3rd year, and my interactions with Dr. Godana in class and outside it were warm and frequent, as you'd expect from someone who was aspiring to be an international lawyer. I have to add, though, that with hindsight, I'm not sure my frequent knocks on his door were always welcome, but I was very enthusiastic and keen to learn, and he never turned me away. We were all fascinated by Dr. Godana. We were in awe of him. He was probably the most handsome man on campus. He was young, and there were so many rumors about Dr. Godana. He was super fit, that we were able to verify because he was always running up and down the stairs. He was clever. That was also verifiable because he was the first person to get a first-class honors degree from the Faculty of Law. We were also told that he was an exceptional linguist, that he had been able to master French to near native standards in 4 years in Geneva. Since none of us spoke French, we never had a chance to verify any of this. But I think Judge Yusuf confirmed that this was true, so I was nodding with appreciation that maybe this was not just a rumor. From the outset, Dr. Godana was determined to inculcate in us the idea that international law was both a theoretical but also a practical project, that states could use it not just to settle disputes, but also to realize their foreign policy objectives. The importance he attached to this was brought home to me when I scored a lower than expected mark in a class assignment on diplomatic immunity, in which we had been asked to advise a foreign minister on what should be done in a hypothetical case where a fire broke out on the premises of a diplomatic mission. I had painstakingly applied the provisions of the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Immunity and not the 1970 Privileges and Immunities Act, which of course gives force to the convention in domestic law. So when I consulted him about the law map, he told me that I had missed the entire point of the exercise. A Kenyan foreign minister would only apply the provisions of domestic law and not an international treaty. When we were preparing and mulling over the logistics over this memorial lecture, I canvassed a number of my classmates about their memory of the time and of Dr. Godana, and about their recollections at the University of Nairobi between 1984 and 1987. Almost all of them spoke of his unfailing courtesy, kindness, and his utter lack of pomposity. But what was striking for all of us were the long queues of his kinsmen, most of them in traditional garb, with bundles of yellowing papers, who had presumably come to seek his advice on some important personal or legal matters. We never quite knew what it was, but we all frequently talked about these kinsmen. That he was endlessly patient with them was for us an early lesson that lawyers should be particularly concerned with what the world feels like for those who are vulnerable. Dr. Godana's teaching of international law was inspiring. He was very well alert to the imperial origins of international law and to the complicity of international law in the racism of empire. I think Judge Yusuf was able to allude to some of those. That many of its rules had not been formulated with Africa's circumstances in mind. These themes were particularly evident in his book on Africa's shared water resources, the legal and institutional regimes of the Niger, the Nile, and the Senegal, in which a whole chapter was devoted to their development and regulation during the colonial era. I think at the time he was not overtly radical. None of us were. We were all living in a one-party state. But for him, it was important that we had to engage with and question the received canons of international law if we were going to be serious international lawyers. Dr. Godana's book on Africa's shared resources, which was published in 1985, remains unquestionably the definitive text on international water law. It was successively referred to with approval by the International Law Commission when it developed its draft articles on the law of non-navigational uses of international watercourses in 1994, and those articles formed the basis of the 1997 UN Watercourses Convention. At the height of the Grand Dam dispute between Egypt and Ethiopia, a Senegalese professor whom I have high regard for told me that he had found Godana's book exceptionally helpful and even suggested that we convene a symposium to review the main themes in light of subsequent developments. That remains a project on my to-do list. There's no doubt that the Graduate Institute was the making of Dr. Godana as an international lawyer, and it gives me enormous pleasure to see in this room today so many recent graduates of the Graduate Institute. I hope Dr. Godana's legacy will continue to inspire all of us to be better international lawyers, to be responsible citizens, but above all, to be decent and caring human beings. and to remember every day that education is a tool to be used in the service of others. I thank you.